He was on his knees, hands deep inside the rusted engine of a 2004 pickup, when the boots hit gravel behind him, 12 of them. Heavy, coordinated, silent. He didn't look up. Not yet. His hands kept moving, slow and steady, even as the air shifted. Something about it, thicker now, like the sky was holding its breath. From the outside, he looked like any other old man in a worn-out jumpsuit. His back curved like a tired question mark. His hands stained black with grease and time. The sign above the garage read Earl's Auto, honest work since '02. But none of that explained why a full squad of Navy SEALs had just stepped into a dusty little corner of Missouri, unannounced, nor why one of them was carrying a folded flag. For 2 decades, Earl Watson had lived in the background of his own life. He arrived at the garage every morning before sunrise, fixed engines, changed oil, tightened bolts, drank cold coffee, smiled only when a kid waved, then locked the doors before the town even remembered he was there. Nobody asked questions. He preferred it that way. His face was lined with stories he never told. A long scar ran down the left side of his neck, vanishing beneath his collar. His hearing in one ear was gone. When the compressor hissed, he barely noticed. The locals only knew 2 things. He worked harder than anyone they'd ever met, and he never raised his voice. But behind those quiet eyes lived 30 years of service. 2 tours in Vietnam, 1 in the Gulf, and the rest spent training men half his age to survive the kinds of missions no one put on paper. He was the kind of soldier that walked into danger, so others could walk out. He buried teammates, friends, brothers, and he did it all with a handshake and a salute. Never once asked for praise. Never once wore his medals in public. When he retired, he didn't write a book. He didn't give speeches. He opened a garage and fixed what was broken. 2 weeks before the SEALs came, a city inspector stopped by. Young guy, clip-on tie, too much perfume. He looked around with a smirk and said Earl's tools weren't up to code, that his license might be reviewed, that he should think about retirement. Earl nodded, wiped his hands, and said, "All right." Didn't argue, didn't defend himself. He just turned back to the engine on the lift and kept working. The inspector left laughing, but not before calling him a washed-up grease monkey, loud enough for the waiting customers to hear. N01 spoke up. N01 stopped him. They all just stood in awkward silence as the man who had once rappelled into enemy territory cleaned carburetors in peace. But someone had noticed, someone who used to be 19 and terrified, until Earl taught him how to breathe through panic. Until Earl taught him how to aim, how to move, how to survive. Someone who never forgot. Lieutenant Commander Jason Reyes, SEAL Team 4. The folded flag in his arms wasn't for a funeral. It was for a living man who never asked to be remembered, but deserved it more than anyone they'd ever met. The team stood still behind Earl. The youngest among them stepped forward. "Sir," he said. "Permission to salute." Earl froze. His hands trembled slightly. Only then did he stand up. He turned around slowly, as if afraid the moment would vanish if he moved too fast. His eyes, dull with age but sharp with memory, scanned the uniforms, the faces, the patches, and then the flag. Not a single word was spoken. Each SEAL lifted their hand. In a silent salute. 12 arms, 12 hearts. One message that we remember. Earl didn't speak. He didn't cry. He just nodded. And for the first time in years, he stood tall, his shoulders back, his spine straight, as if the weight he'd carried had finally been lifted. From across the street, the same townsfolk who once said nothing now stepped out of their shops. They stood still. Some placed hands on their hearts. Others lowered their heads. Even the city inspector returned, this time to apologize. "Some men fight wars with weapons," one SEAL whispered later. Earl fought his with silence, with sacrifice, and with honor. He fixed engines, another said, but he fixed people too. By sunset, the flag hung above the garage, not because Earl asked for it, but because sometimes a man's silence speaks louder than a crowd. There are heroes we cheer for, and then there are heroes like Earl, who never needed cheering to make a difference. If this story moved you, tell us where you're watching from. And if you believe silent heroes deserve loud respect, subscribe and join us in honoring them.